Good evening and welcome to the Good News Sunday Show. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge and I am your host. And I joy to come to you in this fashion. And what we are doing this month is we are doing what I have titled 31 Days of the Art of Engaging the Word Exegetically in an Expository Fashion. In an expository everyday fashion is what I like to say. So today we are talking about titles. We're talking briefly about titles, very briefly. And in talking about titles, I found one of my favorite books. I didn't know what box I put it in when we moved. And today, or was it yesterday? Yesterday I found it. And this is my first and favorite book. This is the first book that I started digging into when I first purchased Keyword Bible Studies about 5 years ago. I had already been to BSF and I had already learned about homiletics and hermeneutics. And so in BSF Bible Study, they did a seminar on they do seminars on how to do this and that and the other. And so initially, when I first came to BSF, I sat through each and every one of their seminars. And at the time they had four. And I sat through all four of them. And one of them was on homiletics and hermeneutics. And they gave out some very informative paperwork in this particular seminar. And so what I did is I lost the paperwork. And so that summer, I wanted to try my hand I wanted to delve more into homiletics and hermeneutics. And so that summer, because I couldn't find my paperwork, I had to find a book. And this was the very first book I found. And this is one of my most favorite books by Mr. Donald L. Hamilton, this homiletic handbook. So I've had this handbook for about 6 years, I would say, and I refer to it often. So the keyword study method, or the keyword method of preaching, is an expository method. So I have this method spelled out for us, or I have it written out for us on my website, keywordbiblestudies.com, and I'm going to link it below. So the keyword message preparation is below. I will link it below. But in talking about titles of messages, this particular book shares a lot, is a wealth of information, and is one of my favorite books. So, choosing a title. So I'm just going to briefly read some of what it says in the steps of the keyword method. I'm going to briefly read what it says in regards to the choosing a title. Sermon titles usually function in one of two ways. Some homileticians identify and use the title in much the same way as a theme or subject complement of the sermon. It is the essence of what the sermon is about. With this approach, the title must be done very early in the homiletical process and must surely reflect the thrust of the sermon. Others view the title more as an advertising slogan rather than sermon part with the homiletical function. So, the following guidelines will be helpful when considering sermon titles. So they give us 4 guidelines in preparing a sermon title or a message title. And the guidelines are as follows. Titles should be creative but not sensational. Titles should be contemporary but not faddish. Titles should be brief but not vague. Titles should arouse interest or curiosity but should not overstate what the sermon will actually accomplish. And then they also say the messenger must allow sufficient time to internalize the content thoroughly so that an effective delivery can be achieved. This ordinarily requires at least 2 hours of concentrated effort. Some messengers rehearse the sermon aloud 2 or 3 times. So that is what Mr. Hamilton has to say about sermon titles, and I greatly agree with him. So this method of message preparation is one of my favorite, but I will admit I have not looked at it in a little bit of time, but it is on my website, and like I said before, I will link it below. So this method is called the keyword method of message outlining, and it can be used with those messages traditionally called expository. So I will link this method below, and that is all I have for us today. I'm not really sure what we will talk about tomorrow. Possibly we will talk about our thesis statement tomorrow. And tomorrow will be day 18 of 31 days of the art of engaging the word exegetically in an expository fashion. And this is Sonia McCullough-Locker signing out for the Good News Sunday Show, Keyword Bible Studies, and the one and only Jesus.com. Thank you, and be blessed in the Lord today. Thank you very much.